Sunday Night Football. You kind of called it. You kind of called it last week. I'm not going to lie. You didn't call it in this bad of a Trounce thing. Now, regardless of how the score turned out, in my opinion, the game was never close. Kind of once Fred Warner popped that ball out of Tony Pollard, I think it was late first quarter, early second quarter. The wheels kind of fell off from there for Dallas. Niners win 42-10. The question really is this the best game the Niners will play all year? Is Dallas really that bad? Or is San Francisco really just that good?
I mean, look at who the Cowboys have played up until this game. The Giants, we know what they are. They're bad. The Jets, okay, they're playing a little bit better, but still not great. Arizona just took it to the Cowboys, and, well, Dallas lost. And then New England, and we've seen what the Patriots are. So everybody's hyping up the Dallas Cowboys as, oh, they're this great team and all this and that. And I'm like, have they really played anyone, though? Like, sorry, but, I mean, like, I don't get all the hype surrounding the Dallas Cowboys. San Francisco showed you are not on our level. The 49ers, if the 49ers are here, the Dallas Cowboys are like there. It's that wide of a gap.
So, all off season, and you have pushed back on me. And sometimes on this show, I had to play two different roles, obviously. Sometimes I got to play the opinionist, but I also have to moderate this show and get us in and out of topics. But you have done a very good job of telling me the Cowboys are frauds. They're not for real. Because I have come in here and said week after week, I thought Dallas, Texas, San Francisco, and Philadelphia was the third best team in the NFC. That's not the case. I'll get to who I think is the third best team in the NFC in our next block. The most concerning thing, I want to focus a little more on Dallas for a second, because to me, it's been a recurring theme now that head coach Mike McCarthy, who, as I call him, Mike McSleepy, has done for the last 4 years for the Dallas Cowboys. They are not ready to play. Their game plan was bad. Their big time players did not show up. And once again, in a big time spot, Dak Prescott, who got paid that gigantic contract that Dallas cannot get out of until 2 years. Obviously, next year, if they try to get out of it, it would be a huge cap hit. Like, Dak is the definition ever since he had that brutal, gruesome leg injury during the COVID season. Dak has been the definition of C plus, B minus quarterback instead of what he was earlier in his career, which was a B plus to an A minus, arguably top 10 quarterback when he had Ezekiel Elliott, when he had Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb on the outside, when he had that young offensive line. Now Dallas's offensive line is older. CeeDee Lamb is their only legitimate wide receiver. Their defense, outside of Michael Parsons, ever since they've watched Trayvon Diggs, has not been the same defense. It's amazing what losing one good corner did to that defense. So Dallas, listen, I still think a lot of people are saying they're not even going to make the playoffs. I don't believe that at all. I still think they're a 10, 11 win team. I don't think they're bad. I think it is classic Cowboys where outside of Philadelphia, because it's a divisional rivalry, they always get amped up for Philly. It doesn't matter what the record is. And Dak has always played well, especially in Dallas against Philly. They just can't beat the good teams. They'll beat up on the bad teams. I'm very interested because this game coming up, I know we'll get to it later in the show, but week 6, Cowboys Chargers, Monday Night Football, Kellen Moore revenge game, the new offensive coordinator of the Chargers. Off a bye, Dallas got humiliated on prime time. Usually, if you're a good football team, when you get humiliated on prime time television, you bounce back the next week and play well. I think this will be very telling for the rest of Dallas' season, what they do in this game next Monday.
Yeah, and this is an interesting placement because if you look, Dallas has to play the Chargers, then they have their bye week, and then they've got the Rams, who are clearly showing they're going to be a factor this season. Then they have the Eagles. And then you look a little later in the season, there's a stretch where I think it's Seattle, then they've got Miami, and then they've got Buffalo. I'd have to look where that stretch is. But there's some key games coming up for Dallas this season. They could possibly miss the playoffs. They could. I'm not definitively saying they will, but look, think about it. Out of the NFC West, you could possibly have 3 teams make the playoffs. San Francisco, obviously, Seattle, and the Los Angeles Rams. Then, out of the NFC North, you've got Detroit, obviously. The NFC South, I guess Tampa Bay, but we'll see.
It'll be Tampa or New Orleans. I don't think 2 teams will make it out of that division. I could be wrong. I'm not, and listen, I saw the Rams up close and personal, obviously, Sunday. They have a good offense. Cooper Kupp coming back makes a difference to them offensively. I'm sorry, their defense is not very good. And I think that's the difference. And we talked about this in the preseason, Josh. It's Aaron Donald and a bunch of kids. And they played San Francisco well because, again, it's a divisional game. And they beat the Colts, but they were up 23-0 in that game and let the game get to overtime. I think the Rams, to me, a lot of people want to put them in the playoffs. I still see them as a 6-7 win team this year that has to win every game by shootout, and their offensive line is already falling apart. And so that's where I think Dallas does have the advantage, is they have a better defense. They do have a capable quarterback. And listen, on any given week, we know Dallas can blow people out. It may be a bad team, but they are capable of blowing people out. I think people forget, as I said last year, they won 12 games last year. It wasn't like they were a bad team last year. No, they did lose some pieces.
Okay, but what did they do once they got to the...
I understand it. Well, they did actually win a playoff game, believe it or not.
Okay, but still, what did they do? Nothing. They haven't been to the NFC. They haven't been to the NFC Championship game since 1995.
No, they haven't. I'll tell you what, they played Brock Purdy pretty well. And by the way, that game Sunday night, that was the best game Brock Purdy ever played. And I still don't even know how good of a quarterback Brock Purdy really is. We need to see Brock Purdy trailing in games from behind, winning game-winning drives and close games to figure out how good this kid really is. Because right now, all I'm seeing is he's throwing to wide-open guys.
Okay, but you're talking about playing from behind and playing in close games. Dallas hasn't had to do that this season.
No, they have not. You're right. That's why I think Monday night will be their big test. It's going to be their former offensive coordinator against the Chargers, and we all know what the Chargers do when it comes to coaching. So
Brandon Staley. But my point, though, is this. Like, has it been their offense that's given them the big leads and stuff? No. Look at what their defense did against the New York Giants on Sunday Night Football. They had a blocked field goal. They had multiple sacks. Would they have 11 sacks again? No, that was the Seahawks against
Seattle had it against the Giants.
Okay, but still, like, the Giants have shown they're bad.
The Giants are not very good.
I don't know why that game is on Sunday Night Football between the Giants and the Buffalo
Well, because the NFL, for some reason, thought the Giants were actually a real playoff team because they won a playoff game last year, a lot like Dallas. But
anyway, but you get my point. It's like, the Jets, they don't have Aaron Rodgers, so of course Micah Parsons was allowed to just eat Zach Wilson alive.
No, I agree. And listen, I am the NFC East guy. I'm supposed to hate Dallas, which I do. But I find it funny that people are acting like Dallas is a trash team that wins like 7-8 games a year.
They're a front runner.
That's what they are. They're a front running team.
How many times have we seen that formula actually work in the NFL? How many times?
Not a lot, but I gotta tell you.
Exactly.
But I gotta tell you what you do gotta have in the NFL. You gotta have a quarterback. You gotta have a pass rush. You gotta have weapons. You gotta have a good offensive line. You gotta have a good defensive line. You probably gotta have at least one good corner. Dallas has a lot of those elements, so they don't have all of them. The two teams that do in the NFC, Philadelphia, San Francisco. We all know what's coming. Week 13, NFC Championship game rematch. San Francisco comes to Philadelphia. That is the class of the NFC. And no matter if you want to put Dallas or a couple other teams in there, the top two teams we both agree right now are San Francisco and Philly. And then there's a notch down there between the other teams. I would put Dallas in tier 2. That's all I am arguing. I think some people want to put them in tier 3, kind of below that third and fourth team. I think Dallas is still there. I think that they're a good team. I don't think anymore they're a very good team.
I would argue Detroit is in that tier 2 team. And I don't know if Dallas and Detroit were to play right now. I don't know if Dallas would win that game, given how Detroit is playing. But
I think it would be close. The one thing that would worry me if I'm a Lions fan, and yes, they blew Carolina's doors off on Sunday. I get it. But their defense is not great. They give up a lot of yards and a lot of points. And if Jared Goff doesn't have a good game offensively, that's where I think the Lions, they need to add another piece at the trade deadline, whether it's a corner or a defensive lineman, to get a better pass rush or better secondary help, because they're still giving up points. I get it was in garbage time because all they did was score, but they were giving up yards and points to even Carolina when that game was somewhat close. It would have been in the third quarter.
Okay, fair. And I'm glad when you were talking about the top two teams, you said San Francisco and then Philadelphia. I get it. They're both undefeated.
No. Don't start this crap.
San Francisco is the better team.
Better than the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yes, they
are not better than the
Yes,
Philadelphia
they are.
Eagles. They are not better than the Philadelphia Eagles. They are not better than the Philadelphia Eagles.
Why?
They're
Just
not
because
better.
they won the NFC Championship
At what
game
position
last year?
are they better? Eagles, quarterback, check. Offensive line, check. Receiving core in general, check. Even though San Francisco may have the best tight end, Philadelphia as a unit has the better core. Defensive line as a unit, Philadelphia is deeper. Secondary, give the edge to Philadelphia. In every single unit, the Eagles are better than the Niners. Outside of maybe running back, though DeAndre Swift and Christian McCaffrey are the two biggest leaders in rushing yards this season.
Okay, I'll give you that. Alshon Jeffrey, Devontae Smith.
Alshon Jeffrey? You mean AJ freaking Brown?
Where did I come up with Alshon Jeffrey?
Where'd you get Alshon Jeffrey from? He's been off the team for 3 years.
I don't know. I didn't mean AJ Brown, so my apologies about
the
that.
The best wide receiver duo in the league, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and you add on the very underrated tight end. He may not be as good as George Kittle. Very underrated tight end, Dallas Goedert, with the best offensive line in football. That is undisputable. The best defensive line in football. That is undisputable. San Francisco may have Nick Bosa, but as a unit, Philadelphia is absolutely better.
Okay, but all Philadelphia has at the skill position when it comes to the wide receivers is A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith.
Have you heard of this guy named Quez Watkins? He's really fast, catches the ball. He's a very good slot wide receiver.
Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel.
Okay, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are both better than Ayuk and Deebo. They both are. Both of them. I would take Devontae Smith over Ayuk and Deebo. If Devontae Smith wasn't on Philadelphia, he'd be a number one wide receiver on 25 of these NFL teams.
God, I can't wait for this Week 13 game when San Francisco shows you that they're the better team.